Sony just had one of their State of Play events and announced more games coming to the PlayStation VR 2, as well as some other big game announcements as well. But before we get into that, make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel for VR and gaming related news like this. Sony kicked off the show with a trailer for Resident Evil 4 Remake with a release date of March 24th, 2023, and I have to say I'm very excited for this one. Resident Evil 4 was the first Resident Evil game that I truly enjoyed, so it's going to be great to experience this all over again in the same light as Final Fantasy VII Remake. At the end of the trailer, they also made mention that there is VR content in development, which actually has me a little concerned as it sounds like it won't be the whole game that's playable in VR. Rather, most likely only a small side story mission or mercenaries mode, as that mode is already coming to Resident Evil 4 VR on the Quest. All in all, Resident Evil 4 Remake seems more of an actual PlayStation 5 game announcement rather than a PlayStation VR 2 game announcement. Next up, they announced 4 games that are in development for the PlayStation VR 2. The first being Resident Evil 8. I haven't actually played Resident Evil 8 yet, so I think I'll hold off until it comes out on the PlayStation VR 2 to experience it for the first time. However, for most, I suspect this to be a letdown as the game has already been out for quite some time, even on the PS5, and it would have been much more exciting if Resident Evil 4 Remake was the full VR game to be announced. Next up was Walking Dead Saints and Sinners Chapter 2 Retribution, which was actually already announced at the MetaQuest Gaming Showcase previously. They dropped a much more exciting trailer here than they did for the Meta Showcase, which I feel speaks volumes that game studios are going to treat VR more seriously when they are on established platforms like the Big 3 rather than newcomer Meta. I'm still not excited for this Walking Dead game, but I do like how they're playing their better cards for the Sony event rather than the Meta event. Next up, we have No Man's Sky, which is already playable in VR mode on the PC, so this can be chalked up as another port. I would have actually been more excited if this game was announced at the MetaQuest Gaming Showcase rather than here. I think it would have had more value being on a $300 setup rather than a $1,000 setup. Those looking for that high quality, immersive No Man's Sky experience probably has already done so on the PC. And lastly, for the VR announcements was a gameplay trailer for Horizon Call of the Mountain. It is still unclear if this game will be on rails or not, or how long this game will be in length, but so far it definitely looks beautiful. They showed off swimming, climbing, and bow and arrow combat. They did show some dodging, so maybe it won't be fully on rails, but it's still unclear exactly how big of a scope this game is aiming for. Either way, I'm still very excited to get immersed into the Horizon world. Unfortunately, that was all there was for the PlayStation VR 2 announcements. This ended up being a 30-minute event, and the VR segment ended up taking the first 10 minutes. So I feel that is actually not too bad at all when it comes to the current state of VR news announcements. But since VR is still very young, and the fact that Sony is obviously doubling down on VR by releasing the PlayStation VR 2, I think it is important to also stay up to date on the general gaming news Sony has, as that can help paint a picture for what kind of direction they are moving in as a company, and what kind of expectations we can have for future VR announcements. Sony is dropping a big update for Horizon Forbidden West that comes out today. It seems like there are a lot of new post-game additions, which is nice for those who have completed the game already. I'm still in the middle of my first playthrough myself and still play a bit every week, so I'll definitely be downloading this update. Next, they announced that Spider-Man Remastered is being ported to the PC. If you are a PC gamer who doesn't have a PS4 or PS5, then this game is literally being made for you, and I cannot recommend it enough. Spider-Man PS4 is one of my favorite modern games, and I hope they can bring that kind of quality to the VR space someday. Next up that was announced was a free game for PlayStation Plus members that looks like you play as Garfield in that Love, Death, and Robots episode where all the humans on Earth are dead. I almost want to play it just to see if the all humans are dead ends up being the big twist to the game, because right now that seems a bit obvious, but hopefully I'm wrong though. Another new game called the Callisto Protocol. Nothing about this one really stood out to me, and I'm already starting to forget about it. This next one was interesting. It looks like a new Rocket League type multiplayer game where it's basically a cel-shaded Tony Hawk Pro Skater with guns. Seems like it may actually be pretty fun, but I'm not sure if this one will attract the kind of mainstream level of popularity that Rocket League achieved, which I feel is necessary for a game like this to be successful. Cue up the sick music and anime style battling. I was all about this trailer up until the hold R2 to hold hands part. Yeah, I don't know about that. I'm not really into dating sims, and that seems to be like a big selling point for this game, so this one's going to be a pass for me. This next one I was actually getting pretty hyped about. Is this free roaming combat I'm looking at? What could this be? Took me a bit before I realized it was none other than Street Fighter 6, which is coming out in 2023. This one was a big highlight of the show for me, and I'm definitely looking forward to playing some Street Fighter on the PS5. Next up, we got some love for indie games with announcements of Tunic releasing on September 27th and Season dropping in fall 2022. Hopefully Hopefully someday my own indie VR game, Mod Masks, will be shown at one of these events for the PlayStation VR 2. If that is something you are interested in, feel free to join the Discord to stay the most up to date on the development of that. A link for that will be in the description below. And finally, we got a new Final Fantasy 16 trailer with a release window of summer 2023. I absolutely love Final Fantasy, and this trailer looks really sick. We already knew this game was coming, so I can't say I was as surprised as I was for the Street Fighter 6 announcement, but this was a pretty good way to wrap up the show. And there you have it. That was everything announced in Sony's latest state of play at the time of creating this video. Were you more excited for Sony's VR or non-VR announcements? What was missing from the show here that you were hoping to see? Thanks, and see you next time.